Here now, Mandy Gunesakara, former EPA Chief of Staff. Mandy, it's always great to see you and talk about this issue. And I want to start with a text message that I got on Con Ed Saturday, Christmas Eve. It was 8 below. That was the feels like temperature in New York City. And Con Ed said this: please conserve energy, lower thermostats, postpone running appliances, extreme cold, high energy use, and interstate equipment problems causing natural gas shortage. We apologize for any inconvenience and wish everyone safe and happy holidays. Your reaction to that, given that you understand what's happening here in New York with respect to fossil fuels versus alternative energy?
Yeah, it's an absurd position to put the American people in, and it's a reflection of the fact that we are in this electricity crisis across the United States because the Biden administration continues to prioritize the want of activists over the needs of the American people, and you are unfortunately the recipient of that reality. I was too. In Oxford, Mississippi, we received similar requests from our local utilities responding to the fact that the electricity grid is in a very fragile state, and it's because of these bad policies coming from the top, where they are trying to build out our grid on technologies that only work when the wind blows or the sun shines, and that it just won't work, and we have to deal with the consequences. And at the same time, they're going out of their way to shut down fossil-based energy, coal, oil, and natural gas that currently provide about 60% of the electricity we need. And what we've unfortunately found out recently is when people don't have access to electricity, it truly is a life-threatening situation. And Americans have lost their lives because of bad policy choices coming from Democrats at the local, state, and now national level.
Let me ask you this, because Liz Peek was on earlier. We were talking about the border crisis, and I think this analogy actually applies here. So she was saying people are going to understand the impact of this, and they're finally going to say that they have had enough when they realize how much it's going to cost their states and municipalities to shelter migrants that are coming into the country illegally. So I look at this situation with respect to our energy policy in this country. High gas prices didn't seem to get people to go out and vote to turn the tide. Higher, home heating costs. Everybody knew they were coming, and now they're here. Is it going to take shortages of natural gas and oil for people literally not to be able to turn on the heat or power their vehicles for them to say, oh, I get it now?
Yeah, I think that the American people are catching on to the problems of the policies from this administration, and they've experienced some shortages, but shortages during the dead of winter, that is life-threatening, and people can see the very real consequences that has. We've been seeing this play out in Buffalo area of New York, but all across the country, and it also puts livelihoods at risk. I mean, I talk to a lot of farmers that have to deal with the consequences of these shortages, and it inhibits their ability to keep livestock alive. That really goes to their bottom line. So this is a far-reaching problem, and I do think that the American people are catching on, and it's up to Republicans, and the majority of Republicans have an opportunity here to not only show them the consequences, which they already know, but an alternative path where we can have access to a stable and affordable source of energy, continue to improve the environment, which we know how to do from my time during the Trump administration, and not force people into a position where they are in a life-threatening situation because of the administration.
Well, that's the thing. People are being forced, and their backs are up against a wall. So we'll see if they change how they vote, or if leadership can step up, and turn the tide a little bit. Because here in New York, which is a very blue state, we actually have a lot of natural gas resource, but the Democrats want to further restrict what we can do. And so I read a text like that, you almost have to, to chuckle, because it doesn't make sense. But Mandy, it's always great to see you and talk about these energy issues. They are not going to be going away. We will discuss them with you in 2023.